everybody, happy Thursday night. It's Wes Seiler here with Preserve Navarre Live, and I've got Miss Pam Mitchell in the house. Hey, Pam, and Dave Samples. How are you, Dave?
Good.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. I know we put this together kind of last minute, but I'm excited to have you guys because we've known each other now for a while. We've been going to a lot of the same meetings, and I've kind of picked up on a lot of the causes that you're doing up north. So it's gonna be fun to talk about it. And then, Dave, it's great to meet you and kind of hear your expertise, and I can't wait to share with everybody. It's gonna be fun. So this is a live show for everybody that's watching. We have a lot of fun doing this every week on Thursdays. I was kind of explaining to Dave and Pam that it's a joy of mine to be able to get together and to talk to you guys and go through different issues that are important to you. This is my happy place every week. I love it. I'm getting to get out, of work for a little while. Wife's got the kids on stuff, and I get to come and hang out with some folks and learn about them and their background and their history, and then hear about the causes that are important to y'all as you kind of detail them and explain it to folks. Because it's live, we get to do live comments. So if you comment during the show, we'll see it. We can put that up on there. Let me know if there's any issues with the sound or anything that comes through. We can fix that. If it goes down for any reason, we just pull it right back up. But we put this together every week as a platform so that people can bring what's important to them. We can showcase it, and it's been a lot of fun. So I'm excited.
We're glad to be here.
Yeah, no, thank you. Absolutely. So one of the things that I do every show, and folks that have watched it for a while know, is I love to go through and talk about some of the sponsors that we have for the show. One of them is the Panhandle Shop. We love these folks down here. So this is Tom and Helen Tuttle, and they own a shop that they run essentially out of their home. And in their retirement, this is what they love to do. And they work on it every day, and they build these beautiful flags. And down here in Navarre, we've got a lot of people that work at Hurlburt Field. And so this is a great item to be able to give people on their going aways, or, if they're celebrating a holiday. We do this all the time for people that are going overseas. If they're deploying, when they're coming home, they did that for me and got me one. And then they can put different things and inscriptions on them. We've got one here in the studio that I love to show off.
Great.
But yeah, it's just beautiful.
I can really relate to that because my first life before I retired, I was a folk artist.
Yeah.
And we made lawn and garden art, lots of patriotic things.
That's awesome.
And actually, when 9/11 happened, that's what kept our business afloat, was
Really?
the patriotic items, because there was such a hunger throughout.
Outpouring.
So anyway, it makes me feel right at home to see all your flags.
Yeah, absolutely. It's beautiful. So, and they'll do it for anybody, for any cause or anything that's going on. You just let them know, and I'm sure they can, ship some up north or, send them up to you guys, because Tom and Helen are amazing. That's their email right there. So the Panhandle Shop at outlook.com. You can just email them and let them know what size of flag. They can also do them in different colors, so you'll see them in the more subdued colors and things like that. But yeah, they do stuff like this, and then we do giveaways and things like that with Preserve Navarre. I love those guys. So Tom and Helen, we appreciate y'all. Another couple of sponsors that we have that we love to mention are Stripes and Andy D's. And I don't know how much time y'all spent down here, but highly recommend. If you're going to go out to eat, these are two of our favorite places to go. And there's a lot of good restaurants in Navarre, but these two, they're hopping all the time, every single night.
We've been when the doc has played music.
Yes, Joel loves to play.
Of them.
He's played at both, I'm pretty
fun.
sure. Yeah, I've seen him at Andy D's. He's been up at Stripes before.
Yeah.
They do like comedians at Stripes. They'll do bingo. They'll do all kinds of trivia games. And then the same thing at Andy's is they're constantly doing some type of event. They'll have a band playing. They'll have all kinds of stuff. He will, just transform the restaurant for whatever you need. Right, so he's had military folks come in. Oh, we lost our venue. We can't do somebody's promotion, and he's just like, "All right, what do you need?" And then he just clears out everything. He starts snapping, and then all of a sudden his staff show up, and it's moving. So he was there last night and late, and I was there too because we had an event. I'll tell you about here in a second. But they were setting up poker tables, and I'm like, I guess they're doing a late night poker game, like okay, right? So. And it's amazing, seeing what these guys have done, and two amazing businesses and sponsors for the show that make it possible.
I've heard kind of a little rumor that Andy D's might be coming
expanding.
Up north.
Yeah. Like if you're in the know with Andy, you know that he's done very, very well over the past year. He took over the restaurant. It was called Broussard's, and then he became the outright owner. He's turned that restaurant into Navarre's culture, done very well, well received, and now he's looking to expand. So we'll see. We'll see. I know he's still finalizing details, but it could be coming your way. Yeah, isn't that amazing? Yeah. You're gonna love it. He's a great guy, and so is Robert. Another one, and I know you know about this one. Because it's from Carmen Reynolds.
Absolutely.
It is her initiative that is absolutely taking off. And if you don't know about this, you need to. The Veterans Treatment Court is an incredible initiative in our community and in our county. So it's not just Navarre. So y'all from the north end of the county are going to benefit from this as well, because we talk about patriotism a lot, and I think our county, Navarre in particular, of course, but really the whole county, is as patriotic as you can get. Between the special operations missions that are happening, you got the Navy basically widening field, right? All the stuff that's going on, and then just all the veterans, people who have served their country honorably and done incredible things. I mean, it's rich with that sense of service, and with that comes an obligation to take care of those people. And we talk about that. Yeah, go ahead.
She presented at the City of Milton, one of our meetings.
Oh, did she? Okay.
And had a good turnout of veterans there to show their support. And it seems like an awesome program.
It is.
She's an awesome person to be putting this forward. Yeah. She has such an interesting background. And
yeah, because you have people that do really nice stuff, and I always appreciate it. Y'all may have experienced it at times, but you have people that say things like "Thank you for your service," or buy a meal, pay it forward. Those things are amazing, right? But you can also measure a community's service or their patriotism by how they treat folks that are struggling.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of what Carmen said, is like, of course, on Memorial Day, we have a big thing. 9/11 just happened the other day. We have a big ceremony. We say, all these things, we think about it, we reflect. That's great. What about a veteran who has found himself at the end of his rope or her rope, right? What about a person who has gone from serving their country well to finding out that they're going to be sentenced to jail, right? Or prison or whatever,
just
right?
Down and out.
Yeah, down and out. And what if it's service connected or related? What if it has something to do with depression or things like that from things they've experienced? What are we doing for that person? And what she discovered is that Okaloosa and Escambia County had a veterans treatment court that made sure they got veteran-specific treatment, focused counseling, judgment, all of that. So they have people who understand how to talk to veterans and what they need to get back on their feet. And so she said, okay, cool. So Santa Rosa County has one, right? No, we don't. And she's like, we need to fix that. And she was told there wasn't a demand for it. And she's like, you got to be kidding me. Not a demand for it. We have all these veterans. We have people struggling. We see who's coming, processing into, the local jail and everything else. There's definitely a demand for it. And now what she told me yesterday is they've gotten their first people going through it. The first beneficiaries of this program are now receiving veteran-specific treatment through the processing.
Awesome.
And they've got these mentors that help get them back on their feet, that talk to them veteran to veteran. Hey, man, I know what you're going through. I understand. I've been in low places. What are we going to do to get you right? You got to serve your time. You got to pay your fines. Then we need to get you a job, right? Get you back on your feet. So that is happening now, and that's just so exciting for Carmen. She's living her dream.
Sure.
So amazing stuff. I love that.
We love Carmen.
Yes, we do.
Well
Carmen.
too.
Yes.
She's all over. So then she sponsors this show as well. So we love her for so many reasons, and we're just proud that she's part of it. All right, so some local news. I was talking about news. Thank you. So Elijah Jefferson Seiler. So this is my son. So I can't help it. I've been telling everybody because we were nervous with him, and I won't go into the details, but we're a little bit nervous about Elijah and just a few complications along the way. But hey, thanks to the good doctors at Sacred Heart. I mean,
he's here. He's beautiful.
I told my wife, because she was obviously under all kinds of stuff while she was going through the procedure. But I was like, it's good when a doctor does this. And he's like,
Yes.
he was proud of himself. So you never know exactly, is this normal? What am I up against? All that stuff. But, when the doctor's proud, okay, he helped us out. He did a great job. So we had that. We just got out of the hospital a couple of days ago, so I'm on next to no sleep, and Catherine is on even less. But he's healthy, and she's recovering, and he's doing great. So we love that. So for us, for our little family, that's That's big news, and I'm happy to share it with you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. For the community as a whole, and I know you've been following a little bit of this. We don't talk about it that often, but there is a move in Navarre to really determine its future. And y'all know up in Milton, you've got an incorporated city. You see the pros and you see the cons with it, the challenge and all that stuff. But you've got this place to go where you talk about Milton things, you know? We don't really have that in Navarre. You know, we have a great paper, Navarre Press, that's, you know, constantly telling us what's going on around the area and things like that. Thank God for them. We have a Chamber of Commerce that's doing what it can to try to help businesses throughout Navarre, and there's a lot of them. But in terms of like a central meeting place, where does the community get together? We kind of spill out of the small park here, and most of the time we go to St. Sylvester's, which is technically in Midway. You know, like there's really not that core identity. And for years, Navarre kind of didn't really need it because it was so small. But now you're talking 47,000 people. I mean, it is huge.
It blew my mind when I heard that.
Yeah.
Because, you know, Milton's like 11,000 people.
Yeah.
And we're incorporated, and we have a city hall where we can air our grievances and sing praises at the same time.
Right. You know, and I think they're experiencing this in Pace as well. You know, Pace is going so fast, and, you know, there's these like planned projects where I think are getting some pushback, like Jubilee and everything else, where they're just like, how many homes can we fit in this space? You know, right?
Pace is more of a bedroom community than Navarre. Navarre has its own, you know, demographic, so to speak.
Yeah.
And Pace has kind of just been absorbed, like, or kind of grown out of Pensacola and grown out of Milton. Yeah,
I mean, with Navarre, it's like if it's undiscovered, if it's a secret, you can kind of get by, you know? But it's hard to be a secret anymore when you see all the expansion that's happened at the military base down the street, and the needs that they have, the units that are there, their manning needs, and then all the businesses that have popped up and things like that. And then, of course, the tourism. You know, there's just more people that want to come. And then add on top of all that COVID over the past several years, and so many people leaving California, New York to come to Florida. And, of course, they want to be by the beach, right? And so they come down here. So you have a lot of influx of people who are coming for a lot of different reasons. And it's hard to be a secret at that point, you know?
Absolutely.
And so now it's like, well, gosh, maybe we need some zoning restrictions and, you know, some code enforcement. Maybe we need a little stormwater mitigation and things like that, because we've developed so much. And we're just not getting that from the county. It's difficult for them to provide that. It doesn't matter who's county commissioner. There's a lot of work, and it's more than any one person can do. And so people are having that discussion in Navarre, but they want to know, is this city going to actually work for me, or is it going to be just more of the same? Is it actually going to help? And so that's the discussion we've been having. And we've had some events I'll share with you. But in terms of the actual news, what we've announced is that there's going to be a straw vote, and people can begin voting absentee on that or early voting beginning this weekend. So Sunday.
So right now.
Yeah, it's coming up. So on the 15th, and then the actual in-person vote will be October 12th, next month. So that's exciting for us. The county commissioners, and you may have seen this, we went up there many times, and a couple of the guys who have since lost their jobs, but they were against it. They didn't want us to vote. They were like, nope, you can't make this decision. We're not going to let you. And we pressed through and said, that's fine. If you're not going to let us, then we'll go find a company, you know, and pay them. And so we're excited that we're moving forward on this, and we'll see what that, you know,
I just think it's important that the people have a voice.
Yeah, and that's it. You know, I mean, so we
up or down. I
was kind of referencing it, but we had an event last night, and if you haven't seen this, please go on Navarre Press, because they did a live stream. I tried to do one myself with my phone, but they're professionals. They know what they're doing. They had a live stream, and the best part of this is, like, I didn't say a word. This was not, you know, Wes Seiler out there campaigning. These were people who live in this. This is people like Tim Bolduc over there from Crestview. He's the city manager that they brought in to try to help Crestview manage its growth. Right?
But he lives in Navarre?
No, he did for years, but he moved up there because they hired him. Yeah, they hired him out there. They said, hey, man, you know, Crestview was growing too fast. What would you do? And he had a list of ideas of how they can make it more responsible, bring in some infrastructure and things like that, and an accomplished record, you know, of doing that for Fort Walton and other places. And so, boom, hired him up there. So he's like, I'm living this. You know, I'm trying to help Crestview kind of fix some of the things that has happened in terms of, you know, all the urban sprawl and stuff. Andy Dees, we already mentioned him. He was there. Carmen, we've mentioned. The most interesting inputs to this, because a lot of these folks we've heard from and we know, but we had Bobby Wagner there from Destin. And around Navarre, I don't know if it's like this in the north end, around Navarre, Destin is like the dirty word, right? It's like we don't want to be Destin. Nobody wants to be Destin. And somebody asked him that. There's somebody from the audience was just like, hey, like so many people are scared of Navarre turning into Destin. And as the mayor who lives there, he's like, by that you mean, external developers, heavily commercialized, like overgrown, and it's lost its sense of identity, right? And the guy's like, yeah. He's like, that's because Destin waited too long to incorporate. He's like, we had 7 efforts. I didn't know this. He's like, Destin had 7 efforts to try to incorporate, and it was set back and set back and set back. He's like, when it finally happened, that's when locals got a voice and a say. And ever since then, we've been trying to climb out of it and start to wrangle control back in to rediscover our harbor village feel, our small town feel. Yeah. And so he's like, I am literally trying to do this in Destin now. Is like, how can we start to create more local centered events? He's like, so with respect, being unincorporated is the most dangerous thing for you guys. If you don't want to have the problems we're dealing with, then you want to incorporate quickly. Right? Just the opposite perspective that you would think, coming from Destin.
Well, I remember as a kid, Destin was the luckiest fishing village,
I
and it
that.
was a little tiny village. You went over the bridge and special little restaurants and all. And now it's just like urban sprawl.
It is. And, and some people think, oh, well, if you have a city, then it necessarily leads to that. But then there's towns like Jay and others, Fairhope, they're still pretty small. It's the fact that city or that area happens to be next to something absolutely beautiful that attracts people from all over. It's like people want to come to Destin because it's incorporated. No, because it's gorgeous.
Right.
So you're going to have that. Same thing in Navarre, whether it's incorporated or unincorporated, you're going to have people who want to be here because it's special. It's a beautiful place. What do you do about that? That's the question, right?
How do you protect it?
Exactly. Do you ensure that those people are going, especially business owners and developers and all that, are they going to abide by a city code that requires them to do X, Y, and Z before they can set up shop? Or is it just going to be a free-for-all and they can do whatever they want and they can completely gentrify your community away, right? Which is what Destin has dealt with. So fascinating hearing from those guys because they've got a perspective that I can't really give. They're living it, yeah. And then, of course, Joel Rubman, there at the center who's making sense of this with about 20, 30 folks in the room, and then Navarre Press monitoring. But don't take it from me. Take a look at Navarre Press's Facebook. We do have it on our YouTube page for the Preserve Navarre YouTube page. Take a look at that thing because people are saying that's the best incorporation event they've heard. Just very objective, very fair, all sides represented, and I'm thrilled. I'm like, good. That's great. Take a seat back and just listen myself and learn a few things. So we had that event. We've got the vote, but y'all have some stuff going on up north in Milton, right? You got some races going on.
We got lots going on.
Yeah, tell me about this.
Well, we're having a stump rally, an old-fashioned kind of political rally, stump speech, fish fry. That's Milton's Concerned Citizens, and I kind of wear 2 hats in the room, Save Blackwater and Milton's Concerned Citizens. But we've got some great candidates that Milton Concerned Citizens has endorsed for the upcoming election. It'll be in November, the same as the presidential election. And we are just hoping to get some fresh new faces on the Milton City Council and just try and make a difference with what we got going on.
Real quick, so everybody understands, what is Milton's Concerned Citizens? Because I think of like social media and Concerned Citizens in Navarre, where everybody just argues and posts silly memes all the time.
No, what is it? We do argue from time to time. I mean, who doesn't?
Yeah, everybody says does. Yeah.
But who we are, we're a small municipal PAC. We were organized in 2018.
Okay.
And there was something that happened at that time in the city, and it just it caused a ripple through the whole community about the lack of honesty and transparency in our municipal government.
Yeah.
And so we got a group of ladies together, and out of that group, just a round table around my dining room table.
That's awesome.
Milton's Concerned Citizens was born, and we've been very active since that time. That was in April of 2018. So our first election that we participated in, we had a rally, and we had about 300 people that showed up to City Hall to express the concerns that they had about the honesty and or the lack of honesty and transparency. And anyway, since 2018, each election cycle we have endorsed candidates that we felt like would bring more honesty and integrity to the city council. We have 4 candidates this time that we really think they're very independent thinkers. We want to replace what is a block vote currently on the city council. And a lot of people say, well, you're just running 4 candidates, you'll have your own block. And we don't want that at all. The candidates we have endorsed are strong, smart, independent thinkers. And they're all pledged, first and foremost, to listen to the citizens and to take in what the citizens want. And so we're excited about that. The fish fry that we have on September 29th, that's up on the screen now. That's an opportunity for people to come down and meet and greet our candidates. And we've invited the incumbents also. I haven't heard back whether any of them are going to show up yet or not. But we'll have mullet and baked beans and coleslaw and hush puppies and tea. And we'd love for you to come down and have something to eat with us. And then we are going to have an old-fashioned stump speech. They're going to stand on the stump and give like a 3-minute elevator speech of what they want to do and accomplish. And then each candidate will have the opportunity after that to mix and mingle.
No, it's very inspiring to me. It really is, Pam, because the political action committee, right? That's what you have, and it's really trying to keep the city on the straight and narrow, trying to keep it focused best you can, right? That's the vision for Preserve Navarre for sure. As a lot of people, when we started doing this, they thought, oh, you just want to create a city, and then you just whatever you get, right? And it's like, no. We want to be involved in all of it.
To be a driver to where that
to hold it accountable.
Yeah, and that's what Milton's Concerned Citizens is. And we kind of catch some flack about being a PAC. And we're actually, for some reason, the municipal PACs are PCs, political committees, not political action committees.
Okay.
So we're a PC.
Got it.
But it's basically the same thing on a much smaller scale. And we don't raise a huge amount of money by any means. We don't send out nasty mailers. We don't. Our focus is on trying to better the community, and it gives us a voice.
Well, it's I've had friends that have wanted to get involved in politics at different levels, and a lot of them think, hey, if I'm just an ethical person, it'll all be fine for me. And it's like, oh, you think that's how it works, right? Like, I wish we lived in that world. But they'll make stuff up. I mean, they make stuff up about me. They're like, he's a liberal. Somebody said he's from California, and like, you just make stuff up. I'm like, who told you that? Like, based on what? They're like, I don't know, somebody else. And I'm like I'm from Tennessee, like I'm from Memphis, But they make it up, and so it's like they will make up dirt on you that doesn't even exist, and then they'll try to drown
your message.
Drown your
message.
So being ethical is great.
Or spin it. The masters of spin.
And did we not see that with Bobby Burkett, right? It's like he's the nicest guy there. And they're like, he's a Democrat. And it turns out, oh, no, that was like 30 years ago when everybody here was.
Everybody was.
So, but he's this like, spiritual and, down to earth.
He just kept going for the goal.
Yeah. But it's
didn't let him drag him down.
Yeah, but it's folks like you and efforts like this that help that kind of person, right? 'Cause you need someone to have your back.
I hope so. Great. I know I've been called a socialist and a liar. Save Blackwater River regularly gets accused of spreading misinformation, and so our goal when we say something, David will have a paper that it's right there. Here's our documentation. Look at this.
And Rob and I talk about that quite a bit early on. Was if you're getting negative feedback, like someone calling you that, you got to think about where's that coming from, and what are their allegiances. Because, like, if my wife tells me I'm doing something wrong, I just stop. I'm like, okay,
You
what is
listen.
it? I,
You listen.
immediately, I'm like, okay,
Because you respect that.
yes.
But when somebody doesn't have a valid argument and they resort to just calling you names, you know you're on the winning side.
Or
you know.
if they're tied in taking money from the establishment,
Yes.
then it's like, okay, they're not calling me a socialist because I'm a socialist. They're calling me that because they're trying to drown out my voice so that we don't take on the establishment, right? Like they have an ulterior motive for it.
Absolutely.
And that's, I mean, to me, that's part of it, Pam, is like, where's the feedback coming from, you know?
Right.
So I think what you're giving these folks is you're giving them some positive feedback, some reinforcement, some very like clear and objective.
And there's strength in numbers.
Yeah,
There's strength in numbers when
absolutely.
you go up against the establishment.
Absolutely.
And that's what we found.
That's
and
awesome.
that's what,
I love
you
it.
know, our endorsement does for these candidates.
That's so great. Okay. I'm looking forward to that. So one more time, when is that going to be?
September the 29th.
Okay. Yep,
It's
says it
Sunday
right there.
afternoon. It's from noon to 5. And the speaking, I think, is
Wonderful.
at 2 o'clock. Is that
Yeah.
right?
That's what it says right there. Yeah,
Okay,
that's awesome.
good deal.
I love that. Other that you're doing, you know, like food and music and the whole thing. Bring your lawn chairs. That's the kind of stuff Preserve Bars
And
doing.
it's
A
right
lot of fun for
downtown
them.
in Milton, too,
That's
kind
awesome.
of the epicenter
That's
of
great.
Milton.
Well,
And the big thing is bringing a community together
Yeah.
because, you know,
Yeah.
we live in community, so you have to be caring for one another. You have to be part of it. You know, if you want
Love that.
positive change, you got to be part of that positive change.
yeah, and you got to get off Facebook and actually go out and talk to some people, you know. I love that. I mean, and that's so much, you know, building that community, like you're saying, Dave. That's so much of what this show is about. So, you know, this podcast and everything that we do, and really, you know, our effort is about celebrating Navarre, what it is, the unique place that it is, and the heroes that make it what it is. Because, well, like I mentioned, so many former tourists, and I was a tourist. I used to come down here from Memphis with my family when I was a kid, and I was like, oh, I want to live here someday, you know? So many of us are attracted by the weather and the beach and, you know, the mission, the cool, you know, opportunities that we have down the street and all of that. You love the small town feel and all those things, but it's those relationships that you have, those friendships that you build. That's what's kept us here, you know. And I think for a lot of people, it's that is once you can walk into Stripes and, you know, see Robert Reyes. You know, Robert sat right where you're sitting, Pam, and he's been on the show. You know, you can talk to Kevin Lucas is another one. I saw him yesterday. We were over in Gulf Breeze and went out to First Watch, you know, and hey, how you doing, man?
It's sort of like Cheers.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I mean, he's a medical entrepreneur. He's doing all kinds of amazing medical research right here in Navarre. You know, working from home and traveling all around the country, speaking, being on shows and stuff like that. Right out of Navarre, he loves it here. You know, and then you've got these amazing heroes that people just don't even know about. Rick Landreth is one in the top right. He was an Army Ranger who was involved in Black Hawk Down. What they made the movie about, he lived. They portray him in that movie. So he grew up right here in Navarre, right north of us. And then you've got people, Michael Carter, that's an NFL player, you know, out there playing on Sundays. He's going to be playing, you know, this week,
And he
I'm
could
sure.
live anywhere he wanted to.
Yeah.
And he chose Navarre.
Yeah, he went to high school right up here at Navarre High. You know, we've got another one who's going to be playing, Jordan Jefferson. So you've got NFL athletes. We have Olympians. I mentioned it before. We've had a soccer player, you know, from Navarre High who's, you know, out there in the Olympics, right? Incredible folks in this community. But if you drive right on through and just look at the beach, you would never know.
Yeah.
So I love celebrating them. And I'll give you an example of how our group does this. Is we just had a meeting this week, and Matt Schleck is one of our members. Just amazing air commando, just, you know, operator who has done all the missions, you know, done all the things that you could imagine in a military career, who's now retired from that. Now he's working as a contractor in Navarre. And he came along and he said, hey, Wes, in my neighborhood, we have this county park, and you can kind of see it right here. I'll make it a little more obvious for you guys. You can see this park right here, and it's just, you know, it's county owned. There's not really much happening with it. You got some pretty trees there, but some overgrowth. And he's like, what if we, you know, created a park out of this and dedicated it to a man named Charlie Jones, who passed away several years ago. And Charlie was one of those guys who literally wrote the book on what it means to be an air commando, right? To get into Air Force Special Operations. So Charlie Jones did incredible stuff. He was a hero out of Vietnam, multiple huge awards. And then got his PhD and his doctorate, you know, and his Juris Doctorate. So he was an attorney, a researcher, a writer, and then was constantly involved in the Holbrook field and raising up the next generation after that of future operators. And he's like, I wrote this career field, so I can tell you exactly what its intent is, as these guys were going out to Iraq and Afghanistan and Africa and everywhere else. So he passed away. His widow's still living. His family's still in the area. And Matt said, man, she lives right down the street from this. Like, she would see this every day.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so he's like, what would it take to get a park in his honor? And that's when he came to us. And it was just like, hey, this group, has the opportunity to help with this. And the county's going to be involved because it's their land. And we're starting to put everything together to make it happen. Because we want people to know about their heroes. And you're talking, Dave, about community and building that. And to me, a huge part of that is honoring the legacy of those who've gone before us and inspire us and have made this possible. So much of what we're doing. So we've got a couple of people on here, Chuck and Angie. Hey, how are y'all? But yeah, that's really what we're doing here with this show. One of the things that I love doing is we've talked a lot about just how beautiful this area is. And we've mentioned the park, we've talked about the beach, but I always love to learn about other areas of the county. And something that's special to y'all that a lot of folks in Navarre may not know about is the Blackwater River. Yeah, so it's near and dear to my heart, and I'll tell you why in a little while. But I'd love for you guys to share. I've got some pictures here. I think that's Jerry Cooey right there in his yellow boat.
It's Jerry Cooey in Cooper Basin, right behind my house. And the sun was just setting perfectly, and my neighbor got that picture.
That's wonderful. But yeah, so talk to me about this, because if you're the type of person who hasn't had a chance to go up there yet, you've never experienced Blackwater River, what's it like? What's the best parts of it?
Blackwater River is, a lot of people think because its name is Blackwater River that the water's black. Well, the water is just as clear as it can be. It's mostly beautiful. A spring-fed river. It is the last white sand bottom river in the United States that is still designated as pristine. And that's one of the reasons that we're working so hard with Save Blackwater River to protect it. But this is one of the areas here up on the screen. It's called Big Eddy, and it's a sandbar that a lot of the people like to go to and take their boats and their kids and their dogs, and they camp. And on any given holiday weekend in the summer, you'd have probably 50 boats there, at least.
That sandbar will be completely packed out with.
I was gonna say, I've been there myself.
Yeah. And it's a beautiful river. It's in our backyard, flows right through the heart of downtown Milton. And Dave and I have been accused of being NIMBYs because we don't want a sewer plant in our backyard. But the way that we look at it is the Blackwater River is the backyard of the whole community of Milton. Yeah. It's where we all recreate. We have bands on the Blackwater down there on the banks of the Blackwater. And if we pollute that river, then we've just damaged our greatest natural resource.
Yes, precious. So my experience was, we came down here, moved to Navarre because I was going up to Duke Field, which is like an hour away. So it's about as far as we could go. But we were excited to live, close to the beach and the whole thing. Had done that for several years, and then I was about to go overseas for about 5 months. And I was like, we had done the beach so many times, I was like, where can I take my wife? Just for like a little mini vacation before I go. And that's what I did. I took her up there. We got a cabin, the whole thing. And then we went down the river, and I was like, man, like what a equally beautiful but different feel. Just an hour away,
and it's totally different than the beach.
It makes me feel like I'm back in Tennessee,
Absolutely. And I was born and raised here. I'm fourth generation from here. And so we grew up, going to the beach, and we love the beach. But the river's just kind of in our blood. It's
gorgeous.
Anyway, we love our river.
Beautiful. So what I've done since is I've had Bible studies, and that's where I take the guys. I'm like, let me show you something, and we're going to go up there, and then we'll spend a weekend or whatever, and we'll pray, or people open up about their lives and what's going on. We'll have like a campfire, that type of thing, and get them out of their daily flow that they have in Navarre, Gulf Breeze, or Midway to get another side of the county. And again, it's 45 minutes an hour, away. It's not like you're traveling that far, and you get, just like you said, a very quiet, serene experience.
It's just a world away from the beach.
It is. It's completely different feel.
Completely different.
But, just amazing that we have that kind of like diverse type of environmental beauty
In one county.
In one county,
In
yeah.
one county, yes.
So that's amazing. I love that.
Well, that was one of our big draws. My wife is from Milton, and I'm from out of state.
Are
Came
you?
down
Okay.
here through flight school, but within a half-hour radius, like centered on Milton, a half hour, you can be up in the heart of the Blackwater State Forest,
Yeah.
which you can be away just in, beautiful, pristine nature up there, get away from people. Half hour later, you could be down at the beaches. So we have this little microcosm in Santa Rosa County that, you're a half hour away from whatever you need to have
Any type of
at the
experience.
time. So,
Yeah.
and I'd also say with the Blackwater River, another thing that's unique about it is an outstanding Florida water. So it's a specially designated body of water. I just say it's one of probably the coolest recreational rivers in the state.
Yeah.
Because rich or poor, we play in the river. I can't say with like Escambia River, we probably don't swim as much in there, but you go on a hot summer day and the Blackwater River, because of those springs that are all coming out of the Blackwater State Forest and that clear water, we go play in the river. So it's a national, it's a state treasure. It's also a national treasure. And it's one of those things that if it goes away, you'll never get it back. So
it's a local
that's why we're
treasure.
fighting so hard to make sure it stays as an outstanding Florida water.
So that's the question. I mean, when we're talking about something that's so unique, like you said, pristine, and beautiful, and just at the heart of the community up there, well, why does it need saving? What's going on that would jeopardize that?
The city has an outdated, archaic sewer plant. It's located just south of downtown Milton. And right now, as we speak, it is emptying treated wastewater up to 2.5 million gallons each day directly into the Blackwater River. Now, it's south of town. There's a lot of flow to the river there, but the city is under a consent order to get that effluent from being discharged into the river, to get it out. And their deadline is December of 2025. So it's here. I mean, it's just right around the corner.
Yeah.
The city, in its infinite wisdom, and I say that very sarcastically, has decided to move the plant about 6 miles upstream to the area where we just saw the slides, where it's much more shallow, it has the sandbars, and where the majority of people recreate.
I see.
And when it became known where the city was going to put this plant, which is on a really steep slope overlooking that sandbar we were just looking at with all the boats.
Yeah.
Okay, the Big Eddy sandbar. If you were laying on the sandbar looking straight up, you'd be looking at the site of, right there. If you'd looking up, you'd be looking at where they want to put.
Wow. And is that the only place they can put it? Like, I don't understand their thought process.
They own, what is it, David, about 300 acres, or is it more than that now? They're in the process of buying even more land. But that land that they bought, after we've fought so hard, they had 100 acres that the county commissioners gave them that they were going to do a disposal system on, that basically, because of all the springs in the seepage slope that the 100 acres was made up of, our hydrogeologist that we had to hire proved to DEP and overrode what the city's engineers were saying, that if they did what they proposed, that it would be like the same direct discharge that they're doing now, because they'd be injecting it into the ground, and the water table would rise up, and it would make the wet weather springs and the slow moving springs, it would make them just streams of continuous water going directly to the river. So the city had to abandon the plan that they had for the 100 acres, and then they proceeded to start buying property. Our organization had asked them about 2 years prior to that, look at this property, look at that property. And they actually went back and bought some of the property we had suggested. So now they've accumulated about 300 acres, right? And that's where they need to put the plant and where they are planning to put their disposal system. But David will talk to you more about this, but part of the disposal system, they've gone from the rapid infiltration basins or ribs that they were going to do into using all spray fields, which supposedly is a better way of doing it. But part of the acreage that they want to use as spray fields is within our well field protection zone.
I've got a picture
and
of that.
That's where we want the people down here in the south end to really sit up and take notice, because we're all about preserving our river. That is Save Blackwater River's mission. But what the city is proposing to do now, they'll be spraying this treated wastewater onto the wellfield protection area that provides the drinking water for the south end of the county.
Yeah. Can you guys kind of explain this map? And I'll put
Okay,
WPA
David,
on
up.
here, so it's wellfield protection area, right?
So
Right.
my name is Dave Samples, and I am the president of Save Blackwater River.
Yeah.
So I met Pam and her husband Jerry several years ago. In fact, 2 years in October will be my second anniversary. They started off with Milton Concerned Citizens, and shortly thereafter we actually formed Save Blackwater River.
Got it.
And basically Pam and Jerry and their group had sent out a SOS call, said we need some
help.
please come help. So a bunch of people showed up. They gave us a brief on what was going on with the wastewater treatment plan and the plan. And for me, got involved. You know, she kind of pointed out the direction, gave me a kayak. So I spent the next couple of days kayaking up into Cooper's Basin as far as I could, you know, find out what all the hoopla was about. And that started for me about a 2-year adventure. I probably have more time hiking all of the terrain where this proposed plan, the plant, the rapid infiltration basins, because I was out there basically every day. So my background is Marine Corps. I am Marine Corps retired. Came down through this area as a helicopter pilot. I went through flight school up at NAS Whiting Field. My last tour in the Marine Corps, I actually worked for the Secretary of Defense doing program analysis. So when I come and look at something or give a brief, you know, it was kind of more like a consultant, because I worked on billion-dollar programs for the Department of Defense. So when you look at a program like this for the city of Milton trying to do wastewater, you know, $100 million maybe, that was like one aircraft that I would work, you know, just so I know from a perspective of systems analysis and operations analysis, you know, this, I know when something's going to be successful or not successful. And right now, the way that the city of Milton and their engineers have done all this, it's got a lot of indicators for failure right off the bat, because, you know, didn't have a good plan, didn't have good analysis, bad alternatives, no life cycle costing, just a bunch of stuff which are normally, you know, indicators of failure. And, you know, this is more than just a, how do you replace your wastewater treatment plant, right? Because they've got to do something with it. You know, what we've discovered through this adventure in Save Blackwater River for the last couple of years, and with all the growth that we're having in this county, there's bigger issues that are involved. So, you know, for us, it's how do you protect an outstanding Florida waterway? How do you protect your well field? Because that area from the Yellow River up, that's where half of the county's getting their drinking water from.
Yeah, it's a huge point.
A real eye-opener was how do you protect yourself from what's at Whiting Field? Whiting Field is an EPA Superfund site, and since about 2017, they've realized they've got some serious contamination issues. So how do we protect the community from what's up at Whiting Field? And then on top of that, you're also the second fastest growing county in the state of Florida right now. How do you handle explosive growth? So it's like this big box that you've got, and you're trying to do something. How do you figure out what you do with your wastewater treatment plant? You know, we keep butting up against these constraints that you have. So, you know, we spent a whole year just trying to do, how do you protect the outstanding Florida waterway? You know, we actually went to Tallahassee. We got an environmental law firm to represent us because the city of Milton was not listening to, please don't do this. We actually had a public workshop where probably for the first time we really start to lay out all of the issues, and took this in front, had a public workshop. We presented it to the city, and they pretty much had their plan and weren't listening. So we said they're not listening, so we ended up driving to Tallahassee, got an environmental law firm to represent us.
Hydrogeologist.
Lawyer said, can't represent a Facebook friend group, so you need to incorporate. So Save Blackwater River, we're Save Blackwater River Incorporated, we're a not-for-profit. Hired a hydrogeologist. We spent the whole next year kind of battling between our engineer and the city's engineers back and forth. Had 4 requests for additional information, which is kind of unheard of from the Department of Environmental Protection, and actually the city withdrew that part of the plan for rapid infiltration basins. So, but if we had not gotten involved, this thing would have been rubber stamped, and
and they would have been discharging into the river up there.
Yeah, I mean, I hear a lot of what we talked about earlier of holding the city accountable, making sure that they're doing right, and the work that goes into that.
And it wasn't cheap either. We need the people need to know, we raised, as our small grassroots group, $150,000 is what it's cost us in attorney fees and hydrogeologists, and paying for the educational opportunities that we've put out there.
Yeah, I'm surprised that they weren't more interested in collaborating with you.
No,
of taking
not at
that
all.
feedback, because you talked about your expertise, and obviously, like Pam, you've talked about your experience in the river, the passion that you have. It seems like a good city council is going to be one that says, "Hey, come in, work with us on this, and let's make sure that we're trying to find the best solution for everyone, even if it's going to take more time."
And you would have thought that. And we had citizen scientists, local, Chris Kerr, Barbara Albrecht, Dan Mullins. We had a lot of great local citizen scientists that came and spoke to the council, and we told them all the common sense information we had accumulated. And it wasn't until we had the hydrogeologist, and our hydrogeologist is his firm is ranked like number 48 out of 500 in the United States. So he was really a great guy. We enjoyed working with him. But he came and he convinced DEP that the engineering that the city had done was not sufficient.
Right.
And so that was a big win for us. But the overarching theme with all of this, Wes, is that the city has tried to shut out public input and public engagement. It's very much like the county and the Jubilee thing the other night. They were talking about the backroom deals that had gone on.
Right.
Okay, well that's what happens at the city, is they want to push the people away so they can do what they want to do, how they want to do it, without public input. And that's what we need to see change.
Right.
That's why we've got to have a new council in November. We've got to have a council that's willing to engage with their constituents and look at what, like you were talking about your local heroes here in Navarre. We've got local heroes. We've got local, like brain power that we can use there in Milton to do the right thing. And David did some research. There was the ECUA. Tell him about the ECUA and what FEMA said.
Right, when, Big Stinky, after the hurricane Ivan pretty much inundated all of downtown Pensacola, they realized they have got to get their wastewater treatment plant, Big Stinky, out of that area because of the flooding problems that they had. So the way they did it, actually FEMA wrote an article about it and said, for everybody else that has to do this, this is the way to do it. And they basically said it's really pretty easy. You get all the stakeholders that are involved, and everybody sits down and figures out a community solution to it. So whether you're at the city level, the county level, the state level, the federal level, FEMA said they did this thing right. So everybody else, this is the way to do it. You sit down, you get everybody
come together.
You come together and figure out. And that's exactly the opposite of what the city of Milton has tried to do. The city of Milton has tried to do this all on their own without, basically good county or state or federal. And this whole wastewater treatment plant, when you've got Whiting Field, which is a federal issue.
Yeah.
When you have to interface with the Department of Environmental Protection, that's a state issue.
Yeah.
The city of Milton, where they've chosen to put all of this stuff, is not even within the confines of the city of Milton. It's all out in District 2 as part of the county. So,
Right.
you know.
But
like,
they don't want county input. They don't want citizen input. They want to make the decisions themselves.
Yeah, I was going to say, Randy's on here. He said, hopefully the need will be met soon. This needs to be a county project, not just the city of Milton, which is kind of what you're
Well,
saying.
yeah, it needs to be a collaborative effort.
Yeah.
Is what needs to happen, and none of us disagree that the city needs a new sewer plant. They've tried to paint us as being anti-development and anti-new plant, and that's far from the truth. We're like so many in the county. We believe in our infrastructure needs to kind of catch up before we keep with the rapid development. We know that developers are here. Developers are going to develop. We know that our economy benefits from development.
Right.
So we agree with all that, but it needs to be smart growth, smart development, and monitored development. And it doesn't, what we see happening is that the new sewer plant, they're trying to push it through in a hurry so that they can satisfy the developers' needs to build more subdivisions. And we want them to stop and take a holistic, long-term approach to it, because they're not going to, it's not like a Tom Thumb that you're going to slap on a hill over the river and it's going to be there 20 years and you're going to bulldoze it and build something else. This is going to be a long-term community investment, and it'll be 50, 60 years that this plant will be in service. And it needs to be in the right place, and it needs to be the right treatment level. And that's where, again, we want the people in the south end of the county to really pay attention, because the whole issue of the old plant that's down there now is going to process raw sewage from Whiting Field, the EPA Superfund site. The sewage is contaminated with all kinds of bad stuff, PFAS and PFOS and PFAS, the two, the forever cancer-causing chemicals. Those are the ones that most people, it's kind of like the triggers that most people are worried about now. But there's all kinds of other stuff that's in there too, pharmaceuticals, and that old plant is not going to treat to a really high level. When the new plant comes along, whenever that might be, 5 years, 10 years down the road, it hopefully will be a higher treatment level.
Yeah.
No promises, but hopefully. But even then, the PFAS, they can't remove that, and we don't want that sprayed on our wellfield system, because all of those are forever chemicals, because they just continue to accumulate. They don't ever go away. And at some point, they're going to contaminate our aquifer. And, you know,
yeah, y'all have talked about that
that's going to
several
affect
times.
everybody.
Yeah, this whole area. Can y'all explain where this is, right on this map? 'Cause people
Well,
may not be familiar.
it's north of Yellow River.
Yeah.
The southern part of the southern it's to the east basically of Highway 87, north of Yellow River, and then it goes along like where the interstate and Highway 90 are there.
Right.
It goes just a little bit to the east, I think, of like the little airport that's there, and incorporates that area. And the Fairpoint Regional Utility System, Midway, East Milton, Holly Navarre, all of those get their water from the wells that are located in there.
Got it.
And it's because at some point in time they identified that the wells down here in the south end, there was so much development and they were sucking so much water up that they started sucking salt water into the source of their fresh water. And that's why the south end's drinking water had to come up and drill wells in the north end.
So it affects us some, and it affects people in Navarre, right?
Oh,
Folks
absolutely.
Everybody
It's
down south there, 100,000 people getting their water from up north.
Yeah, it's 51% of Santa Rosa County's population gets their water from this wellfield protection area. the very ironic thing about it is Milton has its own wells that are west of the Blackwater River. This is all east of the Blackwater River,
Yeah.
south and east. Okay, Milton is coming outside the city limits and is going to spray their treated effluent, their wastewater, on this, and basically at some point in time poison the drinking water for the south end of the county. But they're not going to spray it on the drinking water supply for the residents of the city of Milton.
Right. Right.
So it's the people of the south end of the county really do need to stand up and take notice,
Yeah.
and become engaged.
Yeah.
Talk to your water boards.
Right. Yeah. Well, we experienced this in Navarre, and a lot of people don't know it, but we kind of live with the outcome that you're trying to prevent. You know, we already have effluent being dumped by the county into the sound here. You know, it's gotten darker and darker over the years as they pour that in, and now their water system is trying to reverse that, and they're trying to do one of those rib system up to the base to be
Right.
able to pour it there. So we're trying to rescue, as much as we can
Undo
at this
it.
point. Yeah. What?
And that's what we want to do as Save Blackwater River.
Prevent
We're
it,
trying to be proactive
Yeah.
and not reactive. We really feel like that the city has an opportunity to make some really tough decisions, but good decisions. Over the last couple of years, they've said we can't afford to move the plant. Well, their own engineers said that to redesign and the plant itself doesn't have to be redesigned. It's just redesigned for the topography where it
Yeah.
would be located. BDI's representative told us, and we have the slide to back it up, it was at a public meeting, that it would cost a little over $500,000
Yeah.
to redesign the plant
The location.
package, the location, yeah. And, that's a pretty small investment when you're talking about $100 million plant.
Right.
$500,000 to get it in a place where but when there is an accident, that it won't affect the river.
Yeah.
And that's all we're asking. We just,
Interesting stuff. Yeah. I relate to it. So in my own little world of what we deal with as a group, I go back to the points that y'all made about feedback. And feedback is hard, especially when it slows you down. Especially when you
got a plan.
When you got a plan. You got, I would call it the easy button. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You've got we got this all, moving on to the next thing. And then you have people come in with these papers who are well educated, who know the issues, and they're like, I got some problems with your plan. Right? Like I don't think it
we're not
lines up.
warmly received.
No,
Yeah.
because you're coming in
Right.
and you're not easy to dismiss, and you've got your stuff together, you got your facts and figures, and you understand this stuff, and you've got your background and credibility, and that's
persistence.
tough. So
Persistence.
we've experienced it because we put forward, we've been trying to create a city. We put forward a feasibility study, and I looked at it and I said, look, I can see who put these together over the past few years. I can write this with my group. You know what I mean? Like we can put some of this together. It's not all rocket science. We put it together, and then some of the feedback we got was, well, it's not a professional study. It's not a professional study, right? I was like, well, it's a grassroots study. And they're like, yeah, but it needs someone who's licensed, who's certified, who's professional, who's done this to look at it. We resisted that for a while because I didn't want to waste money. But ultimately, we got to the point where we said, you know what? There's a lot of feedback on this. Let's take that feedback and let's actually act on it, and we'll see what we get. And so we hired a company to review it, and they did point out a few things. And at the end of the day, it took us some money, it took us some time, slowed us down, but at the end of it, our study was better.
Yeah.
It was better, because now we had several attorneys who looked at it, gave us some feedback, improved it, and by listening to the opposition, by listening to what they were saying, and getting rid of some of the stupid Facebook comments and the memes and the goofiness and the insults and all that stuff, and taking the substance of what they were saying, we acted on that, and it improved. And that to me is what the city of Milton should be doing, is they should be saying, I don't like what you're saying. It kind of ruins my plans. I guess this isn't going to happen in my term, but if it saves our pristine, river, and it's what the locals want, and it's a better plan for the long term, then let's slow down enough to include you guys.
Well, and
you know?
that's what we've stressed the whole time
Yeah.
is, let's don't just slap a Band-Aid on the problem.
Yeah, still right.
We've got to think about future generations. And
Yeah, I mean,
anyway,
that's
we've
what we got
worked
to.
hard. We've worked really hard,
Yeah.
and
I get
And it's
that.
not just saving the Blackwater River. Look at the big issues. It's the river.
Yeah,
It is the water source.
right.
It is protection from whiting.
Yeah,
It is how do you do the growth. So it's more than just, how do I keep an outstanding Florida waterway outstanding? That's only one aspect of it. But we got to operate within there and find a good solution set that takes care of all of these big needs that we have out there. So it's a lot more
It's worth slowing
complicated
down.
than just,
Yeah.
Where do I put the next wastewater treatment plant, because it impacts
makes a lot of
a
sense.
bunch of other stuff going on.
well, like we said, a holistic approach to the whole development issue. What are we going to do with
Yeah.
our sewage? There's
Yeah.
there's just such a rush. Just let's get it built. Let's put it there. It's quicker, easier to do it this way.
Everybody wants smart growth, but smart growth takes time. It takes, for something to be smart, it takes a lot, truly smart. It takes a lot of intentionality, a lot of compromises, a lot of perspective sharing, and recognizing you may not have, everything together. When you look at our country, the Constitution wasn't built in a day.
Right.
It was built over Federalists and Anti-Federalists and people
And
going back and forth.
collaboration.
Yeah, and
Collaboration
you
is
look
the
at
name of the
amendments,
game. Yeah.
that are sacred to us. Those were debated, every one of them. And so it was built over years as the country came together. And I think that that's how something important like a treatment plant that can affect all of us needs to be. Take your time, be methodical, move forward. But it takes some level of trust. It takes people saying, okay, I'm going to find the good in what these folks are providing to us. I'm going to trust that they have the best interests of the community at heart. And then your city officials need to be the same. They don't need to be people that are there for an ulterior motive,
Well,
just to be powerful, just on some stepping stone to their political greatness. They
some-
need to actually care.
there needs to be some egos and personalities
some humility
set aside. And
Yeah.
it's come down to where it's just like a battle. We can't let them win. We can't, and
Yeah.
they just recently lost $9 million,
Yeah.
and they want to blame that on Save Blackwater. But the letter from the federal agencies, the Department of Defense and Economic Development Administration, it says specifically on there, the city did not provide the environmental studies to show that they weren't going to have a significant impact, negative impact on the environment.
It was
And-
legally insufficient for them to make a determination of no significant impact.
And that wasn't on Save Blackwater River. Did we bring forward issues that we were concerned about? By all means. We were persistent. But it's rather bittersweet. We hate that the city lost the money because they did need that money. But had they done what they should have done to start with,
Sure.
they wouldn't have lost it. And now it's time for them to step back and say, okay, now we don't have the money to move forward.
Yeah.
They've put the plant on the shelf. That's what the new city manager said the other day. The plant is on the shelf. We're going to concentrate on just getting the effluent out and onto the spray fields.
Yeah, it's something Navarre's still learning too. I mean,
Right.
we had I have people now from like the anti-incorporation side. They're upset that we're having a vote, and they're like, "Your vote should have been through the county." And I'm like, "Well, y'all were
They
the
wouldn't
people that were trying to prevent that
oppose.
from happening." I
Yeah.
was like, "You should have said that before." Whenever we were actually up there, like talking about it, and now because you demonized us so much, and you're just so like. You're not going anywhere, like you're going in circles telling people, oh, no county vote, oh, they should have had a county vote. Like, you're not going anywhere. And we've got to get back to a place where we can trust each other to have the best, motives in mind, even if we disagree on some of, the tactics or what we do, right? I'm trying to get to that place with as many people as I can in Navarre. And it sounds like in Milton, you're trying to get there too. But hey, there's these elections coming up. And to
And they
me,
have consequences.
they have consequences, and it'll be interesting to see, do the people of Milton get a chance to speak, and do they say we're going to bring in some fresh leadership that's going to look at this and maybe be more collaborative,
And
or do they
listen.
re-elect the same people who just kind of go it alone like you've been describing? And we've already seen, some changes in the county already based upon, incumbents
Right.
leaving. So
Yeah.
I'm going to be watching that pretty closely myself, just learning kind of like, hey, how does this community hold the city accountable? But like I said, from the beginning, inspiring to see y'all doing this
Well,
and
thank you.
standing up, because you're not getting paid for it. You're up there
No,
donating
no,
your time.
definitely not.
They may be, I don't know, but like you guys aren't, and yet, you're here working as hard as you can to protect something so beautiful and so necessary. So
Very special.
yeah,
Our
let me go
river's
through a
very
couple of these
special.
comments real quick. So I know Chuck was watching, Angie was on here, Randy was on here. Randy said he was the one who had mentioned, that he wants to see the county more involved. It'll be interesting to see, especially with Libraket and Rhett Rouse, some of these new guys coming in, what their take is on it. Randy said, another great show. I appreciate that. And Angie said she enjoyed it. Very informative as always. So appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching the show. Thanks for tuning in. Again, we do this every Thursday night. It's a lot of fun. We've had a variety of speakers from all over the county here. And I always learn a lot and appreciate you guys. And hopefully, you picked up a couple things about Navarre making the trip. And thank you for it.
Well, we just
So,
thank you for having
Yeah,
us.
absolutely.
It's been great.
well, thank
Yeah.
you so much. David, I appreciate you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And Pam,
Thank you.
appreciate y'all. So, preservenavarre.com. We're on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. You can always email us from the website. We see everything, all the comments through there, or on social media. Text us, let us know if you've got ideas for guests that you want to see on the show. Let me know. Happy to have them, and hopefully they're going to be as great as these folks were tonight. So thank y'all again, and we'll see you next Thursday. Bye.